Well, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back to Tyler's Real Fishing. Today's episode is one that a lot of you guys have asked for, and especially myself as a boat owner and a tournament fisherman, one that I think really applies to a lot of you guys out there that own bass boats or want to own a bass boat, and that is about kind of an emergency, or in case of me and my dad, used quite often, toolkit that you must have on your boat. This here is a toolkit. As a matter of fact, you probably need to get a bigger box for all the tools that I have in here, but this video is going to be discussing all of the tools and parts that you might need, as a matter of fact, probably will need as a bass boat owner anytime you are out fishing. You know, we don't want to run into problems when we're out on the water, but oftentimes we do, and so you don't want to find yourself stuck out there realizing, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, I wish I had this wrench, this screw, this piece of duct tape, this fuse. That way I could get myself back on the water and back to fishing. And so this video is going to be discussing everything that my dad and I have found over the 7 years that we've bass fished in a Skeeter bass boat, what is useful and helpful for you guys out on the water. So let's hop inside my 2019 FX20 and get to talking about it. So before we begin this video, I want to invite you guys to comment down below if you think that I miss any tools or parts that you guys have in your bass boat or you think would be useful. Make sure you guys comment those below. I'm pretty sure this is a comprehensive list of items right here, but just in case I missed something, make sure you guys are commenting down below. And of course, any questions you have as well about why you would need certain tools, all that jazz. And these will also be linked in the video description. That way, in case you don't understand the spelling of something that I talk about, I will spell out everything as well as where to purchase it down below. So the first thing, we're going to open up the box here, and kind of in this top compartment here, we have some very, very important tools, oftentimes the most important tools, and that is a variety of screwdrivers. First two, we have a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver. I believe this is the number 2 for both of these. Just kind of a very general, screwdriver set here. Phillips and flat are very, very good for all sorts of different screws, especially around the bass boat. But especially the newer bass boats, I don't know what year they started doing this in, but a lot of the newer Skeeters especially have what's called a Torx screwdriver. Now this Torx head here is more of a star design that you probably can't tell on the video, but it looks like a tiny little star, and so I have a 15, a 20, and a 25, the 20 being the most useful size here on the bass boat. And so I have kind of 3 of those and 2 just regular sized screwdrivers, the Phillips and the flat. That really will cover almost all of your bases here on the boat in terms of screws. Now moving along, we have a few American sized, not American as in big, American as in like size, wrenches. Now these are very helpful because you're going to have to get, especially for the American size things, a lot of bolts or nuts off of things that oftentimes another tool in here that I talk about won't be able to kind of get into or get the right grip on. And so I have a plethora of sizes here of American wrenches. Now a lot of the items in the boat here are not American, they're metric, especially the engine back there. It comes from Japan, it's Yamaha. And so I probably should get the 2 sizes that are most common, the 10 and the 13, in the metric size of wrench. So my dad has those in his tackle box. I will be getting those into mine soon. Just don't have them quite yet. And so speaking of tools that get things loosened and off, I have a channel lock pliers. Now this is one of the best tools ever invented. Incredibly, incredibly useful. You can slide it out and have it bigger. You can put it, slide it in and have it smaller. And so this thing will take the place of a lot of the wrenches, both metric and American, just because it's very, very versatile. You can have it on a whole lot of sizes, whole lot of angles, and this thing is very, very important to getting things loose. And then I have a few more things as well that deal with getting screws and bolts and tightening things down, and that is right here, the adjustable crescent wrench. This here is very cool because if you want to get a really, really accurate grip on something, you have that right there, and this is a 150 millimeter. Then we have just a regular pair of pliers. Of course, if you guys are fishermen, you should have a pair of pliers in your boat as well. And then this here, probably the best tool ever invented. And this tool here, the last one for kind of tightening and untightening things, is called the Vise Grip. This, a lot of mechanics say you can rebuild an engine with both a hammer and a Vise Grip. It's probably true because this is able to open or close based on the screw and then basically tighten down a lot tighter than your hand can actually get because it is using a spring. And so Vise Grip, very, very important also to have in the boat. So I'm going to kind of leave everything that I talk about out of the boat until I kind of decide to put it back in. So one of the next things we have here is a nice sized Allen wrench kit. Now this here is metric because this is mostly used for stuff on the engine, which as I said earlier is Japanese. And so that right there, Allen wrench kit. from very large size to very, very small as well. I like to have a big, thicker grip as well. That way you have a lot of leverage when it comes to using that. I do have down here a pin as well. This is the cotter pin for the prop. Hopefully you can see that. This here pin basically keeps the prop nut cinched down on the prop so it can't go anywhere. And so, as I'll talk about here in a second, if you do decide to change a prop on or off the water, you have an extra pin just in case you are changing your prop and the pin falls off and drops in the bottom of the lake. You want to have an extra pin. So that is very, very important, like I said, just in case. And then while we're on the topic of changing props, this here is a block of wood. You can just cut it out of a 2x4 that is used to stop the prop prop itself from spinning when you are wrenching the prop nut off. And so you have to have one of these. I've heard guys just get a piece of driftwood and put it in there, but you always want to have a piece of wood that you know is fit specifically for your engine and for your prop. And speaking of getting a prop off, this here is a tool that not a lot of people have, and I've never had to personally use myself, but I know that the time will come when I'll have to change a prop either on or off the water, and it will be very, very helpful to have this on or near the boat, and that is a prop nut wrench. This here is specifically designed the only size for my Yamaha prop nut back there, and it is just the perfect size for getting a prop nut on and off. And so, like I said, this is kind of a don't really need it type tool, but if you do have it, I promise you it'll help when you do change your prop. One last thing here that we have is the side cutter. This will kind of go along with the zip ties. Now, if you guys know, all the time you have, where'd that wire come from? Where did that thing pop out from? You need zip ties all the time in the boat to zip tie things back, whether it's your trolling motor, cables coming undone, whether it's your, I don't know, seat coming off. You're gonna need zip ties for stuff. And so I love having the side cutters with a whole bunch of zip ties. Just in case. You're never going to use this many. You think, Tyler, why do you have 20 zip ties? You're never going to use them. But let's say you use 3 here, 3 there. 5 years later, you forget to restock them. You have them inside of your box itself. So that's kind of a lot of the tightening, untightening, and cinching down parts. Now we have a few more parts that are very crucial that you might not think about having in the boat. They don't necessarily relate to keeping the boat in one piece, but relate a lot more to your safety as an angler. So another thing that you definitely want to have in the boat is a utility knife with several extra, probably here, blades on the inside. Now these things are not just useful around the house, they are also useful around the boat, because let's say you run a huge amount of fishing line in your trolling motor prop, you run over somebody's trot line rope in your prop for your engine itself. You don't want to be using your little fishing scissors, your pliers to try to rip it out. You want to have a very, very beast, manly knife with several sharp blades that is easily able to cut through stuff. And so the only things that I can think of are basically things wrapping around your prop, but you always want to have a knife no matter what. There are so many scenarios that a knife comes in handy. And heck, you may even use this to start cutting your braids. So this is important as well. And then here we're going to get into a few things that you might not think about. The first thing is a whistle. Now, to pass the Johnny Law inspection test, you do need to have either a whistle or a horn in your boat. Now, I have a very, very very, very loud horn in my Skeeter, but let's say I'm stuck out on the water, it's foggy, it's, I don't know, getting dark outside, and my battery's dead. Completely dead. The horn does not work if the battery is dead, and let's say I see a boat that could help me out, that could tow me in, but it's too far away to hear me screaming. That's when a whistle comes in handy. So you may think you'll never use it, but it could save your life one day if you did have the whistle. And speaking of things that can save your life, this here is a portable survival blanket. This here, as an Eagle Scout, the motto is be prepared. I'm an Eagle Scout myself, and so while a lot of the stuff in this toolbox may come across as a little bit over the top, and a heat blanket for 2 people can definitely come across that way, I promise you, there are several people in the country today that are living because they were prepared and because they had a heat blanket like this. So especially if you live in areas where the air temperature gets colder at night, you don't want to get stranded out there on the water without the ability to keep yourself alive. So you always want to have this. Of course, you never want to use it. You never want to be in that position, but in case you ever are, you want to have this, and it'll be linked below for you guys to purchase as well. To go along with that vibe of keeping yourself alive, here is just, of course, it could be used to keep your hands alive and to keep them from getting hypothermia. This here is hand warmers. I do have hand warmers in the glove box that I use for when it's cold, but like I said, these are very, very emergency hand warmers that I hope to never use, but in case I need them, I have them. And our box is getting empty. We have only a few more things left in here. One is a tire pressure gauge. Now this here is going to be used on your trailer tires, and every single time, especially you go on a long road trip, you want to be checking your trailer tires, because the #1 reason for a blown trailer tire is that they are underfilled, they are underpressured, and so you always want to make sure you have your pressure set to 45, is it?
Whatever says on the tire.
Okay, whatever your tire specifically says. Of course, a dual axle is going to be different than a single axle, so you want to have your tire set to whatever your specific tire pressure is supposed to be at. So this is very, very helpful to have. Next, we have a bag of fuses. Of course, you always need more fuses, because in your bass boat, you're going to plug your cord into something, you're going to put too many phones in your phone charger, and you're going to blow something, and so you always want to have a fuse. Oftentimes, when you are running on the lake and something stops working, whether it's your electronics, whether it's your engine, the first thing you should check is your fuse. You shouldn't immediately think, my day is done, my day is ruined, I must have blown something in the engine. It's probably a fuse, because the fuses are the first things to blow before the rest of your boat goes to mayhem. And so you always want to have a bunch of extra fuses in different size and variations. That's very important as well. And the next thing we have here is a few sizes of batteries. Now, as a videographer myself, I have all sorts of battery sizes in cameras, in microphones, in my Connect scale, in electronics, all sorts of stuff. And so these batteries here are not my backups. These are my backups. I have extra batteries, of course, in my camera bags, but these batteries, AA, AAA, and 9-volt, are just in case. Like I said, I will probably never ever use these batteries, but just in the one occasion that I need them, or a buddy needs them on the water, I want to have these extra batteries. And that's one thing that I want to discuss real quick, is that if you have this whole kit, most likely you are a type of person that keeps your boat in tip-top shape. Nothing really breaks on your boat because you take good care of it. But oftentimes your buddies are not the same. There's a lot of people out there that don't take great care of their boats and their equipment, and so you kind of want to be that guy on the water that helps your buddy out, because then he owes you one, and then you seem like the guy that has it all put together. And so when you have all of this stuff in your boat, like I said, you are that guy that is able to then be the Good Samaritan and help out your fisherman next to you that may be in need of some of these parts. Now, two more things we have in here. We have a brake lockout device. I hope it shows there, it focuses. But this here is, in case the solenoid brakes do not allow your trailer to back up. It happened to me in Canada. You want to have basically a lockout device here that you stick in your trailer. That way it allows the brake to not cinch down on itself. I'm sure I'm not using specific terms here, but you want to have an extra one of these, because I do have one in the boat and one in the truck, but you're always going to lose them. They're small little metal pieces. They're going to fly out on the highway if you keep it in after you use it to back out. This is always a very, very important tool to have. It's cheap, find it anywhere, but you want to keep it inside of your just-in-case toolbox. And the last two things is some duct tape and a rag. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten my hands dirty for something and I've wanted to have a rag, but I've used up all the rags in the boat. They're all nasty. They're moldy. I left them in the cooler. You always want to have one extra rag at least laying around. And then, of course, you want to have some duct tape. Now, duct tape is useful, as you guys know, for everything. You can build a house with duct tape. I built a boat that floats with duct tape. So you want to make sure you have at least a little bit of duct tape in your toolbox. And that right there is everything that is in the box currently. Now, two more things that I have to get. And of course, if you guys, like I said in the beginning of the video, can think of anything that I forgot, make sure you guys leave a comment down below. But the last two things that I still have not gotten but need to get, the first is an extra kill switch. Now, if you guys don't know what a kill switch is, you're not familiar with a bass boat, of course this video is mainly made for bass boat owners. A kill switch is a piece of plastic usually attached to a bungee that goes to your life jacket. And this here, if you don't have the kill switch in the little hole there, the little keeper, your engine will not start. Your engine will not function, because this here attaches to your life jacket, and in case you get thrown out of the boat. It is the same with jet skis, the same with wakeboard boats. Any type of watercraft has a kill switch. That way, if this gets pulled, the engine is completely shut off. Nothing works. That way the engine can't do circles around you and, chop you up if you fall in the water. And so you may not think you need an extra one of these. You may think, oh, I'm always going to keep it in the boat. But as a matter of fact, there have been several times in the past 2 or 3 years that I have had this end clipped to, let's say I clip it to my shirt here, or clip it to my life jacket, and I take the life jacket with me out of the boat. And the life jacket sits in the garage, and I decide, you know what, I'm not going to bring that specific life jacket today. Don't even think about the fact that your kill switch is attached to it. Happened to me at Sam Rayburn, day 2 of practice. I left my auto-inflate life jacket because it was raining, and I didn't want it to auto-inflate on myself. I left it in the garage, and so we took the 2 regular life jackets, got to the ramp, tried to start the engine, wouldn't start. And I said, what the heck, what's going on? And I realized I left the kill switch on my life jacket that is at home. And so we had to drive 25 minutes back to the house, get the kill switch from the life jacket, and then bring it back to the ramp. It was a whole hour ordeal that was unnecessary if I had had an extra kill switch in the boat. So that is the video, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this content. I will be doing kind of a boat walkthrough of everything in my boat and how I organize it, but I just thought this was a very, very important video to make. Everything that should go in your emergency toolbox kit here in the boat. I think every bass boat owner should have one of these, and I definitely found myself in situations where these tools and these things came in handy. So like I said, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button to join the Tyler's Reel Fishing team, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Tyler's Reel Fishing.